Yeehaw! Back in our happy place, Dottie.
We are. We're back in our happy place. And it's funny because normally we're like so chockers in the studio. But the last you were away.
I went away.
You went away to Phuket.
Exactly. I went on a cleanse. What kind of is a cleanse? Phuket cleanse. It's a very special place because our gorgeous producer, Sam, that's how we met years ago. And that's where she lived in Phuket. Mm-hmm. It's actually my fourth trip there.
Gosh.
I went there solo.
You're healthy.
Woohoo, I'm feeling pretty good now. I went there the first time
Probably
solo. Even though I flew around the world, as a flight attendant for over 30 plus years, it was actually my first holiday. I sort of went as a single woman when I was divorced, and I wasn't quite sure where to go to, and a girlfriend of mine said, Nicola, Phuket Cleanse will be really good because you can go up, it's kind of a little community, you can do as much as you want and as little as you want. And I just fell in love with the place. I met Sam, I met Zora, heck, my age has been on it, and I came back and met so many friends. So the second trip, who went along? Dottie and a couple of other girlfriends.
It was amazing. And one that wasn't so spiritual really got it. Because I love the morning, you hear the cries of the locals in the morning and it wakes you up and you go, right, let's go for a walk up to the Buddha right up the top of the hill. Oh, my God, I'd certainly stop and go, but it was that sense of achievement when you reach that, and it was like, this is just gold.
It was just fantastic. And then third time I went there solo again, met some new people, and this time I took my daughter.
Yeah,
so it was a really great mother and daughter time, and just in life, it was just a really great time. But my news, I think, sort of pales in insignificance because you've got the exciting news. Do you want to share it with everybody, Di?
Well, I think having sons, like our next guest. It's you get into that wonderful mode, and I think I'm a little bit like our next guest, where I really sort of get into their worlds and their life, their sports and whatever. Their whole lives I've been really interactive with. And then my first grandchild was a boy, and I was excited because I'm like, great, I know how to deal with this. And then my son just had a girl, and I'm like terrified.
Yay! And I'm so excited, aren't I?
I'm like, oh my God, this is like...
She's so pretty.
Like I'm holding her going...
Congratulations, Di.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
she's beautiful.
She's only just brand new. It's only sort of like, so this
what
is hot
do
off
they say?
the press.
Freshly squeezed, they say.
Freshly squeezed.
But it's, so it's wonderful news. I love it. I love it all. I love it all and more.
It's great, because life is full of ups and downs, that's for sure. We never know what's around the corner, and so you got to celebrate those good news. And it's great because, your son, he lives in the hood, but talk about who lives in the hood is our next guest. And we've been wanting to have her on for quite a long time, and it's finally happened, and I couldn't be more thrilled. So let me introduce you to Sam Bloom, who I think most of you have probably heard of Sam. We know her poignant and powerful story, and she does happen to live in our hood. We last saw one another at an exhibition in Avalon, which was part of the local legends. It was fantastic, and of course Sam was one of them. Sam's a mum of three, and she lived a full active life until a devastating accident in Thailand left her paralysed. In the midst of rebuilding, along came Penguin, the little magpie who helped her heal. Their story became a best-selling book, captured by her photographer husband Cam, and later turned into a global hit film, Penguin Bloom. Now a world champion parakayaker, surfer, and a passionate advocate, there's so much to talk about. So Sam, welcome to the Back Fence.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
We really are thrilled.
You literally are over the back fence.
Literally. Yeah.
Not the beaches, Sydney,
down the road.
Australia.
Sam, there's this, as Nicola just quoted the book, the film with Naomi Watts.
I love it so much. It's probably got coffee stains and everything on it.
And we've listened to so many different podcasts and interviews with you that there's so many dynamics. But I guess really, let's be honest, there's only one way to start. If you could just firstly paint a picture about your life prior to the accident and then move into what, for listeners that possibly might not know your story.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you said, I live on the Northern Beaches in Sydney, which is amazing. I'm very fortunate. So I had an amazing childhood. I mean, went to Avalon, went to Barrenjoey High School, and as you can imagine, everyone surfs. I grew up surfing and just always being active, always being outdoors. And yeah, I was very, very, very fortunate. So I had a great life. So it was funny because I remember when I was in infant school and we had to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And in my head, I think I was in first grade, and I drew this picture of a nurse. And in the background, there were the pyramids, because all I wanted to do, I wanted to go to Africa. And I wanted to be a nurse, and I wanted to work in Africa. So that
Wow.
was always my dream as a little kid. So yeah, I stuck to that. So I finished school, went to uni, became a nurse, and then just travelled.
So you literally made your dreams come true.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So very active with your kids. You were surfing, you were bushwalking, like really active. A world that Sam lived in prior to that trip.
Definitely, yeah. Because like you guys said, I've got 3 boys, and so we're always surfing, riding skateboards, going BMX, riding BMXs. Everything for us, like our whole life was kind of spent outdoors and being incredibly active. I used to always go running, played soccer, go to the gym. That was kind of who I was.
And wasn't the ironic thing, Sam, that were you going to go to Egypt, or you actually going to go there for holidays, but you had a change of plan? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or what happened?
Yes,
because
we love traveling, and so we wanted to take the kids overseas. So our initial plan was actually to take them to Ethiopia, because Cam and I fell in love with Ethiopia about 25 years ago. And so we were going to go to Egypt and then down to Ethiopia. But it was just terrible time. It was in 2013, and that was when Cairo was just going a little crazy. There was just too much conflict. So we thought, no, we won't risk it. We take the kids to Thailand instead. So that's how that all came about.
Tell us about what happened in Thailand.
Yeah, so we went to Phuket. I'm afraid, Nicola, I don't have great memories.
I know. I was actually feeling quite bad about that now too. I'm just terribly sorry.
Two totally different holidays.
Isn't it incredible? That's life, isn't it? You have two totally different experiences there, but kind of ironic. I'm saying about that.
I do love Thailand. That was my third time there, so I do love it. So so like I said, so we landed in Phuket, and we just started to head north. So we were halfway between Phuket and Bangkok, and we found this really cool hotel. It was like right on the beach. It was quite remote, and we stayed one night, and then the next morning we all got up, went swimming, and it was unreal. And we were going to rent bikes, and we were going to ride up to this like a fishing village. It was about 1 kilometre away, and one of the kids spotted like a staircase, so we all walked up, and I actually don't remember this, but I leant on the railing and it had dry rot. And so I leant on it, I'm assuming backwards, and it broke, and then I fell like 6 meters and broke my back and fractured my skull. And I had there were a lot of other injuries, but obviously breaking my back was the worst.
And the kids' witnesses?
Yeah, they saw it. I think it was Noah and Rubes, my eldest in the middle. They sort of saw my feet go over the edge, and then they heard the bang of the railing, so they all ran down. And it's pretty horrific. I was unconscious, and there was quite a lot of blood everywhere because I'd split my head open. So I was bleeding from there. I'd bit through my tongue, so I imagine there was blood all coming out my mouth. And I had a lot of internal bleeding, like in my chest, and so my lungs had collapsed. And so Cam was terrified. I was like just lying there kind of gurgling, and then he rolled me over and he just saw this massive lump on my back, which I'm assuming was the bone. Right. And then that's why he was yelling out for an ambulance, and they came and picked me up. And so they took me to the first hospital. I mean, I don't remember any of this, but the first hospital was quite remote, and so they took me in, and they were trying to shave my hair, like to stitch me up. And I feel so bad because I was a nurse, and apparently I was telling them where to go. Actually shaving my head. I was like,
go Sam.
It was so bad. And then they x-rayed me and realised that was pretty extensive injury. So then we all went in another ambulance and drove about 3 hours up to a place called Wahian. And that's where I stayed. I think I was there for maybe 10 days.
And then were you medevaced out to Australia, or
not initially. So it took them about 3 days to operate on me because I'd lost so much blood. I just have to keep getting blood transfusions, and they waited until I was stable enough, because I'm assuming that if they took me into theatre straight away, they thought I probably would have died. So
And
they
did you
waited.
know at that stage that
No,
you
I had
couldn't
no
walk,
idea.
or
No idea. No.
no idea?
Well, I do remember when I was in Wahian, I honestly think they just kept giving me so many painkillers.
Right.
I remember that, you'd have the drip. Or actually, I had a central line, and, they'd come and give me all these drugs. But I had no idea what was happening. It's funny because I was there for one day, and then the next day my mum and sister turned up. And I remember saying to them, "What are you guys doing here?" Like, I was thinking, that is so random.
Yeah.
Come to visit.
What are
Yeah.
they doing here?
A holiday in Phuket.
I know.
I know. So really,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cook and
and-
cleanse. Oh dear.
I know. And then I remember saying to my mum, I was strapped on a spinal board, and they must have strapped me down like so I couldn't get up. Not that I could. And I remember saying to Mum, "I want to get up. I want to get up." This thing, like this strap, it was really squashing my boobs. It was so uncomfortable. And I remember saying that to Mum. And then my next memory is just I was in theatre, but I didn't know I was in theatre. And then I remember them putting the central line in my neck, and that really hurt. And then I just saw them lift my T-shirt up and cut it off, and then just that mask coming down like that.
Wow.
But I had no idea what was happening.
Oh, Sam. And were your boys back in Australia then?
No,
or were they still by
there.
your side?
They were still there.
Gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, the consulate from Australia, he was really lovely. He came down from Bangkok, so he was
That's great.
Yeah, he was looking after them and us.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just helping Cam out. I mean, I remember the police would come in a lot. I think they were like trying to work out what happened, and they were really lovely. I remember they bought me flowers and stuff.
Oh, just those little
The
things.
Thai, that's typical Thai.
And was
Yeah.
that right that
Yeah.
you didn't actually, your full diagnosis, you weren't told that you were
No.
paralysed until you were back in Australia? Is
Yeah,
that
no,
correct?
I had no idea. I must have realized something bad had happened though. When I was transported from Wahian up to Bangkok, and that's I was in one of those massive big hospitals, and I do remember saying to Cam, "I wish I'd died." So I didn't realize that I couldn't walk, but I knew something wasn't right. I remember saying that to him, and I just remember being in so much pain. It was just it was horrible. So when I was in Bangkok for about 10 days, and so they'd take me downstairs to the physio room and they'd sit me up, and they just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to pass out while I was on the plane.
The journey, yeah.
Yeah, so then they had to organise obviously a flight and a doctor and a nurse. So I was taken. I think I was in first class. It was first class or business. I
Yay.
don't read that well.
Oh, you're funny.
Finally, you get to first
Even
class.
thinking
No,
and it's
right.
like
I
that.
love
Gee,
it.
you know,
love
like,
that. I think I was. I
Yeah.
love that.
what a way. Oh,
Yeah.
Sam.
So back in Sydney, reality check.
Yep.
How did you eventually find out that your life would be aligned with a wheelchair?
It was okay. So they flew me back to Sydney, got picked up by the ambulance guys, and then taken straight to North Shore, to Royal North Shore. And it was the second day there, and they took me down for MRI. And then that afternoon, the doctor came up, and I asked him, I'm like, will I ever walk again? And he was so blunt. He was just this young, nice-looking man, and he just goes, no. And I just remember my mum was there, and I remember I just pulled a sheet over my head, and I just burst into tears. I was like, well, my whole life is over.
It sounded like the doctor had great bedside manner.
Yeah, amazing. He's so compassionate. Like,
I mean, look,
seriously.
they can't sugarcoat things, but there are
I know.
certainly ways of saying it, I guess,
agree.
and
Absolutely.
that's pretty cruel,
It was
isn't
so
it? Really
cool. Like,
harsh.
he could have given me like even just a little glimmer of hope. Like, I don't know. I know he couldn't lie, and I'm glad he was honest, but he could have just given me just a tiny, tiny skerrick of hope.
Oh, and Sam, and I guess then from there on, was
Amazing.
it kind of like a downward spiral for
Yeah.
you? Like, I mean, your world would just be black
Yeah.
for a long
God.
time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cried as much in my life.
No.
Yeah, so it was so overwhelming because, because before this happened, like, I don't know, I was like, my whole identity was like, going surfing and riding skateboards and just being super active. And now I'm like in a bloody wheelchair. Like, Yeah.
How old were you, Sam?
41.
41. And your boys, how old were they at the time?
7, 9, and 10.
Wow.
They're only
7, 9,
babies.
10. Yeah, which is really a difficult stage too, because especially boys running around and all the things you'd be doing, chasing and doing all
Yeah,
that, and
Totally.
and I sort of admire how raw and unfiltered and you are about how awful it was, because and you said it's awful to say you want to die, but that's being real and how you felt, and
Yep.
So
you know,
true.
and then and then tell us sort of through those dark days and with your boys, and then tell us about how what sort of changed with the little magpie that was found.
You know what I want to hear about is mum guilt with your boys.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Tell
there
me
was a lot
about
of mum
that.
guilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell
so,
me about that.
well, I was in hospital for 3 months at North Shore, then went
Yeah.
to rehab for 3 months. So, I was essentially away from them for 7 months,
Oh,
counting
wow.
Thailand.
That's a long time.
It was a long time. And so, so when I came home, there was just so much mum guilt because I couldn't do the most basic things. I couldn't take them to school. I couldn't change the sheets. I couldn't do it, just normal mum things. I couldn't take them to the beach or to a skate park. So there was a hell of a lot of guilt. And I'd always try and put on like a brave face because I didn't want to see me, being so sad all the time. So I'd always try and cover it up. I remember one time, I'd always kind of disappear into our bedroom and like be wiping away tears and stuff. And then one time, Ollie, who's the baby, he's 19, but he's still my baby.
Oh, we
Always.
love that.
Always.
And he came into my
Gorgeous.
room and, and he's going, "Are you okay, Mum?" I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Wiping away the tears. And then he goes, "Oh, if you're sad, I'm sad." I was like, oh my God. It was so heartbreaking. And then, and having to rely on them to help me. I hated that so much. Like, I'd be like, "Oh, guys, can you please get me the wheelchair, or can you pass me this or that?" There was like the whole mum son roles had totally reversed. Instead of me running around looking after them, they were running around looking after me.
And you said one night, I heard in an interview where one of your sons was calling out. He was really, really sick, and he called out to Dad, not to you.
Yep.
And how that affected you.
Oh my God.
Because I felt that. Yeah.
That was horrible. Again, it was Ollie. And and he
The bubba.
Yep, the bubba. I know. I remember I was just lying in bed and he's going, "Dad, Dad," and I'm going, "Cam, like, something's up with Ollie." And then, Ollie was sick in the bathroom and I'm yelling out to Cam going, "Is he all right? Is he all right?" I just remember lying in bed just crying, just feeling like absolute shit.
Yeah, I get
much
that.
guilt. Like, it's, especially being a nurse, being a mum, it's just like I should be the one running down the hall and making sure he's okay.
Yeah, it's all the ironic things, isn't it? That you are a nurse, and you're probably the most active person there could be, and then all of a sudden, sort of like this has happened to you. With your boys, and wasn't it with one of your boys? Then all of a sudden, as a little boy, they find an injured.
Oh
magpie?
yes. So I was home for 3 months, and as you can imagine, I was not in a good headspace. I was so sad and so angry. Like, I'd sit here because we can overlook Newport and Bulgola Beach, and I grew up at Bulgola Beach, and North Bulgola was my favourite spot in the world to surf. So I'd
How
sit
frustrating!
Here. Oh man,
seeing
you've
both.
got no idea. So I'd just sit here and I'd just be fuming. So it was not good. And so one day, my middle son Noah and I went to Mum's. She was still living at Bulgola, and we went there for lunch. And I wasn't driving at that time, and so Mum had to drive us home. So we went into the car park. She lives down near the beach, and Noah just found this little baby magpie that had been blown out of the nest. So we picked her up because we thought if we'd left her there, she would have died. So we picked her up and brought her back home, and she was so cute. So she changed the whole dynamics at that time. She just brought happiness and just something different, and actually it took all the energy and focus off me.
You said once that it was almost, you didn't go to therapy, but the bird was almost therapy for you.
Yeah, I talk to her all the time. And it was super
beautiful.
healing, I reckon, because they don't judge you and they just listen.
Isn't that so beautiful?
And
you
Noah, you know what Noah said? He said, we not only rescued the bird, but the bird rescued us. Now, that's from a child's perspective.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And I love it that it was your
Very,
child that
yeah.
found the bird, really, and brought it to you. So one's looking after each other.
Yeah,
You're looking
They
after
both had
the
a
one-
fall.
and they
Sam had a
both-
fall.
Yep.
The bird had a fall. And you both rescued each other. I think it's the most magnificent. Hence the film. I
Yes.
get it. I get it. Blue, blue, blue.
And then your gorgeous husband's photographer. So during this whole time, through the good times and the bad times, he photographed it all.
He did, yeah. I mean, I remember initially though when we found Penguin, because she was always on me, and I remember saying to Cam, like, don't shoot the wheelchair. Like, like,
No,
I hated it.
don't
I
shoot.
still hate it.
No.
But I understand
No,
that.
Yeah,
I
was like,
get
I don't want to
that.
see photos of me in this
No.
Yeah.
bloody wheelchair. So I'm like, yeah, you can shoot from my waist up, but don't get the chair. I mean, obviously that changed, but yeah, that was my initial thought at the beginning. I'm like, I don't want to see myself in this because that's not me.
No.
You know, Cam sounds like he just sounds gold. Let's be
He
honest.
is.
Like when you sign up in a partnership, a marriage, or a relationship. When I say sign up, as in you're in one, you don't. None of this is part of that plan, and I believe in a lot of relationships, and no matter what life throws at us, if you can work through it together, I think it's just that's the magic. Where today we're in such a flip on social media world, and there's someone better over there. But look at what happened with you and Cam through this, and where it's morphed, what it's morphed into. You know, I've got to hand it to him. He must be an amazing human besides you.
He is. He's pretty awesome, and he's been amazing since it happened. You know, he's put up with a lot of dark days and a lot of crap from me. You know, me saying, if you were like this, you couldn't handle it, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, he's put up with a lot, but he's amazing. And he's very even keel, Cam. Like, he never gets, he's never angry or sad. He's just he's just on a plateau. He's extraordinary. He's very kind.
Wow. And were you guys childhood sweethearts as well?
Yeah, well, we met when we were about 19.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, his mum and dad used to have the cake shop down in Newport.
Wow. Oh, we love that.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Do you go there now, Joe?
that was my father's
You don't go to
favourite
cake
cake shop.
Not really.
No, truly.
Yeah, right.
You don't eat cakes
Vanilla
anymore.
slices.
Yeah, vanilla slices, yeah. That's funny.
Isn't that the girl?
Oh, isn't that cute? So you met at a cake shop in Newport?
Yeah,
in
Cam
the-
used to come in.
at the back fence.
I love that.
Yeah, he
I
used to
love
come
it.
in. I thought he was pretty spunky and
yeah.
super nice. So it was funny because one night we were at the pub, at the Newport, when it used to be the Arms.
Yeah.
And I saw him out and he was a little bit drunk and I was with my friend and he was with his friend and I went up and asked him out.
Oh,
we
yay.
love a forward woman. That's
Good girl.
fantastic.
Sam, I want to talk about. There's so much in your story. I cried all the way through the film, but that's me. That's all right. I want to talk about this person that I find is remarkable. There's two people that I think are just a shining light in your life. One, when you were having rehab, the sports recreation officer that came into you and suggested kayaking. Tell me about that.
Oh, he was amazing. His name is Kel and he still works up at the rehab.
We love Kel. We love you, Kel.
I love Kel.
Yeah.
He's life changing. So he was awesome. So he knew how much I love sport. And I do remember always complaining, I can't play soccer and I can't do this, I can't do that. And and so I did say maybe I could kayak. And then he was like, right. And he just pushed me into it. And so he organized everything. So I think I was on the water maybe a couple of weeks after I got out of rehab. So that was all thanks to him.
Wow.
So,
And was that the start of a little bit of glimpse, a little bit of a healing process, Sam?
Yeah, definitely,
question.
because
Good
again,
question.
I was out of the wheelchair, and it's just on the lake at Narrabeen, and this will sound really bad, but I wasn't surrounded by people. 'Cause I used to like my own space. That's what I miss the most, man.
Bushwalking.
Bushwalking,
all
and
of
then
that
I'd
sort- yeah.
always go up to West Head, go mountain biking, always on my own. Always go surfing on my own because I just liked being on my own.
So my question to you is, how is that possible? Like, on water, it in itself is a frightening dimension, but kayaking, coming out of a wheelchair into the kayak, how does all that work?
Well, I had like a special seat made with a backrest so I could sort of sit in it. Yeah, it was pretty tricky to begin with because I've
I
got
bet.
no core, which means I don't really have great balance. So I would just sit there and I'd just stare. I'd stare at the boat and try not to fall out. But again, I had an amazing coach. Her name is Gay. She's absolute champion.
We love her.
Oh, how
She's-
Kel Gay.
Yeah, she's one in a million.
Is she a volunteer
Yeah,
or
she
is
was.
she?
Yeah, she
See?
volunteer.
Yeah.
She works full time as she has a landscape gardening business with her husband. She works full time, and then she would just volunteer. And it's just people like that.
And I love it, Sam, too, from you were saying as well that she could sort of like, have a little fun and tease you
Oh,
and do
God,
all
yeah.
those things there. Whereas I'm guessing some people, if they see you in a wheelchair, are too frightened to
Yeah.
sort of say anything or to
Totally.
upset you
Oh, yeah.
in any way. Whereas she's sort of like, get on with things.
Yeah.
And, what's the matter with you,
Slap,
Sam?
yeah.
Yeah, she was exactly what I needed at the time because she treated me like a normal person.
Yeah.
And she'd say it how it is. Yeah, she bagged the crap out of me, and I love that.
Oh, that's so
But
good.
you know what? A sense of purpose, how imperative that is. Whatever life throws at you,
100%.
we all need to have a sense of purpose.
It's so true. It's a game changer. Because that's what changed for me. It was finding that purpose. And that came about when I was kayaking, and then Gabe made me go in a few races, and I got picked for the Australian paracanoe team.
Oh, wow.
That
awesome.
was my purpose, and that changed everything for me. It was finally like I felt like I had something to talk about, and
Yeah.
something to aim for.
Yes. Wow. Oh, that's incredible. And so where did that lead you? So did you compete then?
I did. I wasn't very good, but yeah. Gay and I went over to Italy for the World Championships, and
Go Gay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You have the
Love
gelato
her.
and the whole thing over there. And now
Yeah.
tell us, was the book published first, the most beautiful, which I've got here. I've had on my coffee table for years and years. I really have, bought at Boccacino all those years ago.
oh, how funny.
But yeah, Penguin Bloom, was that first made and then the film came from there?
Oh,
Or how did
yes.
that come about?
Yeah. So the book only came about, like you said, Cam's a photographer, so he'd always be taking a squillion photos. And as a joke, the boys said to Cam, "Why don't you make an Instagram account?" And so we did. So we called it Penguin the Magpie. And then a journalist spotted the photos. I'm not sure how. And he was from the ABC, and so he wrote a story about it. And that's how, I don't know, people started contacting Cam saying, you should write a book and all that. So that was never our initial thought, like to write a book. We were like, absolutely not. And so that's how it came about. So people, the publishers from HarperCollins messaged Cam and said, we'd love to write make a book about, to share your story. So that's how it all happened. It was quite organic.
Was that cathartic for you, actually documenting things in that book?
Yeah. Well, I spent about a year. So our friend, Bradley Trevor Grieve, he actually wrote the book for us.
He's
kind of
wonderful,
with us.
isn't he?
Yeah, it was like a bit of a collaboration. So I spent a year talking to Bradley. He's Australian, but he lives in LA.
Yeah,
And
listen
so,
to-
it was really great because I felt like I can tell Bradley exactly what was going on in my mind. I would have been probably a bit more honest with Bradley than I was with Cam. I'd tell him all the dark, all the negative stuff that was going on.
Wow. And it seriously is the most truly a beautiful book. It never will ever date. And then from there, is that from how the movie came out? Like, how did that rock your world?
Yeah, I know.
Literally.
Pretty crazy. So we've
Rock
done,
star.
Yeah.
Well, we've done 2 books now. So Penguin was the
Yes.
first
Yeah.
one, and then there was another one, Sam Bloom. But the movie came about, a friend of ours, Emma Cooper, she's a producer.
Yeah.
She is best mates with Naomi Watts. And so Emma gave Naomi the Penguin Bloom book. And Naomi read it to her kids, and it really resonated with her. I mean, she's the mum herself. And so she's like, yep, I want to be a producer. I want to make this film and play Sam. I was like,
Wow.
I honestly cried most of the way through the
Really?
movie. I think being a mum of boys, and I was trying to empathise and feel, how I would cope and every part of it. I went through these waves of ups and downs.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen it, guys, honestly, it's so worth
It is.
seeing.
There's a scene in it too, and there's so many beautiful scenes and so many poignant scenes. I'm just so in love with the little magpie the whole way through, and the singing and the joy it gives. But your dark days too, and there's that scene, and you're smashing, like the artwork and the paintings and the also photographs. It's so, I felt for you so much, but it was just like raw and real and showing your whole emotion there. It was just really powerful.
Yeah, well, that's what I've got to be honest, I didn't actually do that.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a metaphor of how I was feeling, though. No, but
I love her honesty, though.
Exactly.
I would have go with it, I say.
Exactly.
Sam, go with it.
So Naomi's a bit of an actress then, is she? This Naomi Watts,
bit of sizzle.
No, but it was exactly
Bloody Hollywood.
I hated looking at old photos of my old life because it would make me so angry. Like especially, I used to get on Facebook and I'd be just so angry and so jealous because everyone's like, oh, I'm going on this holiday, or I'm doing this or that and living the best life. And I was just like, I hate this life. And so it was a metaphor for me, just trying to erase like my old life. And I still do it. For me, it's kind of like the old Sam and the new Sam. It's like my old life and this life.
Is there something, because there's people obviously not got through what you're going through, or but have gone through some terrible things and are now sort of like left paralysed or with things. Is there any sort of things that you can sort of maybe help people, because you're never going to be the same person again?
No.
Is there any, I don't know, through your years and you found purpose, is there any sort of thing you can say?
Like what Di said, you need to find a purpose and have goals. And I also think you need to surround yourself with good people. And they get you through, like people like Kel, like Gay, obviously Cam and the boys and my family. But you just need just a few people just to help you get through the worst times.
It's so
and
true.
the ones that you just know they'll always have your back, and you can be completely honest. I think that's what helps you get through, because you can't do it on your own.
No, that's Hey, speaking of, I have to take you back because your journey is worth hearing. How did you go from kayaking to surfing? Come on, guys.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, like I said,
truly.
I used to always surf, and then after the accident, I was like, well, that I will never surf again because I can't. And so it was 5 years after my accident, and it was just this random act of kindness from someone. And she's another amazing lady. Her name's Nicola Wilson, and her son is Julian Wilson, he was a professional surfer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Jules.
We know Julian. Yes,
Yeah.
Jules, all the surfing boys.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Good looking. They're all good looking
gorgeous.
young men.
Yeah, she has 3
exactly.
boys too.
Yeah. Yes.
And so Nola sent me this beautiful letter encouraging me to get back out in the ocean and get back on a board again. And she sent me this really cool necklace. I haven't worn it for a while, but it's all cowrie shells. And it's so cool. I wore it for years. And so I thought, okay, so I owe a lot to Nola because she's the one who pushed me literally to get back into the surfing. And so I did. So I went in my first competition in 2018 up the coast somewhere. And I got onto the Australian parasurfing.
Of course you did. Of course you bloody did.
That's awesome.
And where did that lead you?
I went to America in 2018, and that was actually my first time in the States. So we took the kids, and it was to a big, it's called ISA, it's like International Surfing Association. So it was a big world championships for the surfing, and I did well, got gold.
Wow, go,
and the 3 boys witnessed their mother, who's in a wheelchair,
they must
become a world champion. Surfer. I had to clarify that. But
you're wearing the gold yourself here, Di.
I'm actually blown away.
They must
truly.
be so proud of you for many reasons.
Full circle for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in every sense of the word. Something else I need to ask. Human nature can be so obscure. Like, I remember being with my ex-husband's father, who I just adored, and he had Parkinson's, and he used to shake a lot. And we're walking along the street one day, and people were like crouching away or stepping away, or it was an interesting observation for me just as a human to watch the people around. Tell me about how many people stepped up to the mark with you when you ended up in the wheelchair versus stepped away, couldn't confront or deal with it. Because I find that fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know. I think my close friends and the people in in the community definitely did step up, but I actually pushed them away. So
Tell me about that.
Well, I was so embarrassed, to be honest. I was so embarrassed that I was in the wheelchair. And I wasn't the same person. Before the accident, I was always so happy and had so much energy, and life was unreal. And then when I came home, I was always sad and just angry. And so I pushed people away because I didn't want to see them. I didn't want them to see me like this. So I'm not sure.
That's hard.
I'm not sure. So I don't really. Yeah.
When you're pushing your wheelchair, do you ever watch people? Like how they react?
For sure. People,
Because I'd find joy in that. I'd be like, wow, they're stepping up. How are you? Having a great day? Or smiling. Others who are just like, oh, I don't know what to do with this, and walk away or turn away.
I think people on the whole are pretty cool.
Great. I love to hear that.
I really do. And it's not perhaps maybe 20, 30 years ago it would have been a lot different being in a wheelchair. I think it's more normalized now, the whole disability thing.
that.
That's positive to hear that, isn't it?
Isn't it?
And I was just thinking,
I
is
think
it
it's
also
true.
you being a nurse? I don't know whether because you've dealt with people nursing, you've seen people, I guess, with disabilities and things like that. But it must be hard when it's flipped, as your question is, and it's for you.
Yeah, no, it's so hard. But no, I think on the whole, people are pretty amazing. There's a lot of good people out there.
We think that you're amazing. And tell us now about sort of like life, because I was talking about I still come back because I'm obsessed with the bird and the magpie and whatever. And he eventually flew away, I guess. And I felt really bad when he was getting attacked by other birds. And it's sort of like human nature, when sometimes the weaker birds come and attack them.
Yeah.
But you had to witness that and you had to see it. And then you
hard for me.
had to let it go.
Because I
Yes.
couldn't, guess how territorial magpies are. And so we had one from one side of the house, like one group, and another group of magpies from that side. And then if Penguin was out on the front lawn, they'd come and just attack her. And so I couldn't kind of run, as you can imagine, and go and save her. So that was a little challenging. I would always be yelling out to the kids, like, guys, go and get Penguin.
But penguins survived, and then eventually you had to penguins. Hopefully, it's living its best life somewhere now.
Oh yeah.
How was that saying goodbye?
Yeah.
Oh well, I actually wasn't here. I was in Italy, kayaking, and she flew away.
As you do.
Yeah, So no, I always say she came at a good time and left at a good time.
Oh, that's so
Came when I was
beautiful.
at my lowest, and then left when I had
And I think animals, I don't care whether it's a
They're
bird,
healing,
a cat.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Look, when I had 2021 was probably the worst year of my life. My car got stolen. I split up from my marriage. My mother died. And the dog was very sick. My dog was very, very sick, 19. But she hung around.
She did.
Didn't she?
She did.
Till the end of
I
that
couldn't
year.
believe it.
And then the vet said, you just can't keep her alive. This is cruel sort of thing.
Right.
And I thought, you absorbed. And they've actually proven it with MRIs and things. Like they're there.
They're
and
healers.
apparently they nudge you with their noses and they can absorb things. And I'm sure most of nature can do that.
I think so.
And penguin obviously did.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so beautiful. But I was wondering now, sort of with the parallel too of the empty nest, and are you an empty nester now? Have your boys
That's
left
a great
home?
word.
Just wondering.
Ollie's still at home.
The baby. Oh.
He's 60 now.
Yeah.
He's a baby.
He's never allowed to leave.
No, it's good. Well, our eldest Brooks, he's overseas. He's in Morocco at the moment, traveling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Noah moved out over the hill at Bungan with Cam's mum. She has a big granny flat, and but Ollie's.
Oh, how cool. They're together. And you've done some incredible trips. Did you go to Africa, Sam?
Yeah, we did. We finally got to Ethiopia.
Yes.
Ooh, you finally got there.
Yeah. It took, what did it take? 12 years. So, yeah, because I've always had this absolute passion and love for Africa. And that's all we wanted to do. We wanted to take the kids to Africa and show them how magical it is. And so we did. So it was 2023 to 2024. So that Christmas, we went to Zimbabwe for a couple of weeks. And that was amazing because we stayed on a conservancy with a family.
Oh, right.
And that came about through the movie. It was so funny. This lady, Lara, she's from Zim, and she messaged me on Instagram ages ago. And she's like, I saw your film. I loved it. I know you love Africa. And we'd love you to come over and stay with us. And we were like, okay.
Wow.
I know.
How lovely
how
is that?
incredible is that?
That is fantastic. I took Di on a trip to Africa, didn't I? Remember that?
You
when I was
did.
flying with the airlines, Di actually came on a trip with me, didn't you?
We had too much fun.
We did.
Yeah.
It was only for a few days and went back. But,
So lucky.
Oh, Sam, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Human nature again.
Exactly.
And sometimes people who you never know come into your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was
Do you know
incredible.
what I want? You know what I want to say is I'd really love to say that having boys, that I think that the experience since your accident, I just feel it's just made them better human
Oh,
beings.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
I'm getting emotional. Here I go again. God.
Yeah, no, it has.
You know, like so many kids have such an easy ride or a difficult road, whatever that may
Yeah.
be. But in the boys' case, it was constant
Yeah.
because their mother was in the wheelchair
Yeah,
around them
yes,
and
yes.
always helping. I just believe in my heart that they're just going to be the greatest men because they'll be so empathetic.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be so caring and nurturing. And Sam, I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to flip that line of mother guilt. You've been the greatest mother,
Yeah.
living by example. I am so proud of you.
yeah, here.
In so many ways.
Australia is another
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
global stage.
In so many
That we
ways.
really are, you know. So so tell us now. Are you kayaking or what are you up to now? Are you
Kayaking.
still active?
Not kayaking, yeah. So no, we're still super active. Oh yeah. So what I was going to say. So after Zimbabwe, we took him to
Yeah.
Ethiopia for a month,
For a
Oh.
month.
Yeah.
Wowza.
and that was
Ethiopia.
unbelievable.
How
Yeah.
fantastic.
I was so
I'd love to go there.
scared before I left, thinking, I hope I don't hate it. Like, you know, because it's not the same, obviously. You know, being in a wheelchair, can't do all the, you know, go off on walks and whatnot. But oh my God, I loved it so much, and the boys absolutely adored it.
Tell us what's so great about Ethiopia, just
The
for the
people.
listeners going.
And the people.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
They're so beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am still competing, but we also have another massive trip coming up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I can't wait for. So we're going because we love the Middle East, Cam and I. And so we're going to take the kids. Unfortunately, Ollie's not coming, the baby, because he's going to Canada. But we're going to go to fly to Muscat and go to Oman for a couple of weeks. And then we're going to go to Iraq.
Oh,
then-
you're so adventurous.
Yeah.
Like, no, Fiji didn't feature
No.
it on stage.
No.
No, so we're going to spend
Wow. Tassie,
a
No.
month or so in Iraq and then to Jordan. But what we're
how
also going
interesting.
to, well, I think it would be a fascinating place to visit because we've never been to Iraq. We've been to Jordan, but not Iraq. But we're going to do a collaboration with MSF, you know, Doctors Without Borders.
Right.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, so when we're in Iraq, we're going to go to a few of their clinics and kind of interview some of the patients and the doctors. And also when we're in Jordan, in Amman, they have a massive hospital there. And there's a lot of people from Palestine who've been taken over there to be, you know, operated on and whatnot. We're
Well,
gonna
look at you
share their
giving back.
stories. So,
Well, and does that help? I guess does that help you and obviously helping others too when you can share stories with people who've had sort of similar
yes,
sort of.
definitely. Yeah. No, I just can't wait. I think it's going to be.
Oh, how
amazing.
awesome!
You're
I'm
an
excited for you.
You know what? You're one big inspiration.
I know.
You know,
you certainly
when I hear the
are.
words of when you landed in Australia, you wanted to check out, and look at you now.
Yeah,
You're
no.
just checking the world out, babe.
No,
Watch
right.
out. You haven't even started
Watch
yet.
out, world.
Yeah.
And she's in our hood, everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so
lucky.
Northern Beaches for all our listeners here. Well, you know, we've got some of our signature questions
do.
here. Did you want to shoot
Oh,
Di-di-di-di-do?
I'm dying
We've
to
got a
hear
few of
this
them.
one. I'm dying to hear this one. Sam, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I do think laughter, honestly, is the best medicine.
Oh, yes.
yay.
That's our language.
Yeah, no, I do because
Do you know, this one makes me laugh.
yeah, I remember the first time I had, like a proper laugh was pretty early on, and it was with Gay, and we were driving up to Queensland to go training. We'd have to go up to for the kayaking, and she's crazy, and it was just something she said, and it was the first time since my accident that I had that real proper laugh, and it makes you feel unreal.
Oh, that is so
Beautiful.
good to hear.
Great words.
It really
Great
is.
words.
Nothing makes you better than that.
Yeah.
A good old belly laugh,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
that's
It's so
wonderful.
true.
If anyone
We do that
deserves
a
it, it's
lot.
you. We do.
I
We
bet
laugh.
you do it a lot.
We cry.
Honestly,
we laugh. But the
Sam,
laughter is.
we went on a trip to Hobart. Was it
Still
24
laughing
hours?
when I
Was
think
it
about
24
it.
hours?
Yes, you know.
And I think we laughed on the plane, in the taxi, at the hotel,
we
at
had
the
to stop
event.
doing the show because I was laughing.
And we were interviewing someone. It's the only time we
is-
didn't.
yeah.
But then we back to the hotel overnight, and then in the taxi, and then on the plane, I went. We haven't stopped laughing.
I know, but-
And it's true what you said,
Unreal.
guys. Even if you can't find somebody to laugh, look up some comedian or turn something on because it's the greatest gift, and I think it helps you live longer
It
too.
does. I think so. Put a smile on your doll. Now, if you could share a back fence with anybody on planet Earth, Sam, who would it be and why?
It would be probably would be Nelson Mandela. I know he's not here anymore, but it would have been Nelson Mandela. He was my
Well,
hero.
bravo. Bravo.
And tell us what you feel about Nelson
I
Mandela,
just think
besides
he's
the
the most
history.
amazing man. Like, imagine he would be so kind and so compassionate and just the most beautiful person. I remember I kind of started following his journey when I was in high school. And I used to always put up, my friend and I would always put up free Nelson Mandela posters all around the school. Like this thing for Mandela. And when I was at uni, I was at, where was I? Oh, I was at UTS, but one of the campuses was at Royal North Shore Hospital, or near North Shore. And I remember Mandela was speaking at the Opera House, and I had to do an exam, and I raced through this exam and raced on the train and made a beeline to go to the Opera House to see him. And that was just like the most amazing day ever.
Wow.
Beautiful.
To meet him. And I still have the poster, which I grabbed from, it was 1990. We haven't.
I love that.
And it's so cool. So,
Other people have posters of boy bands and stuff. And you've got Nelson Mandela, but
That's
yay,
really
you.
funny. That is so
I would
cute.
have loved to meet.
Brad Pitt?
Yeah,
no,
no.
Nelson.
Also, I've met Bob Marley.
Oh, Bob Marley, wow. You're so cool and you're
Love
so warm and you're so caring and it's just been
Like
and
a
it's
big
just-
hug,
It's
this
like
interview.
a big
I
hug.
feel like a
I
big
hope
hug.
everyone else just feels it because you just ooze love and warmth and we are in awe of everything that you've done and you're doing now and so thank you, Sam, for joining us at the back fence and everybody, thank you for listening. Don't forget to rate and review. Share this episode. We are on YouTube, so that's a really big thing. We want everyone. You can watch it now. And so subscribe,
I'm gonna wear more
follow,
makeup, damn it.
put the lippy on. But and we
Over
love
60.
and we love the ratings. It helps. And Di gives her own ratings. So we've got with Sam Bloom. With how do you go with ratings here, Di?
Do you know what? I think that every now and then I do an infinity. You have inspired us so much. I think it's infinity out of 5.
I think it's infinity
Yeah.
out of 5.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, truly.
It is. You just
Thank you, Sam.
we're in
Thank
awe.
you guys for having me.
I feel
Yes,
so yummy today. Just
I know.
thank you
You've
for
warmed
everything
our
you're doing.
hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your boys are very bloody lucky having you as a mama.
I know, and that husband of yours
We
too.
love Cam.
So we love Cam.
Yeah, we're gonna have stickers on it. Go Cam.
Cam.
Go Cam and Sam. Everyone,
I
ciao,
love
ciao.
that, Cam and Sam.
Thanks
Ciao.
for listening, everyone. Ciao, ciao.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
bye.